it's Haley. I'm making this video because I wanted to tell this story in my own words. I had like a very scary incident on March 10th with my husband, having a normal day, normal conversation. And all of a sudden I felt this really weird sensation that kind of like traveled down my arm from my shoulder all the way down to my fingertips, and it made my fingertips feel really numb and weird. Justin was like, "Are you okay?" When I went to respond, I couldn't speak. The right side of my face started drooping. I had so many things running through my head. The number one thing being I'm having a stroke, and they were able to see that I had suffered a small blood clot to my brain, which they labeled and categorized as something called a TIA. Basically, it's like having a mini stroke. They also did a certain test called a bubble echo, which is when they do an echo on your heart and they take saline and they kind of, I don't want to say shake it up, but they make it so it has bubbles in it, and then they put the bubbles in your vein to see if you have any bubbles escaping out of any part of your heart. And what they're looking for in that test is something called a PFO. Basically what a PFO is something that you are born with, and typically at birth it's supposed to close on its own. Sometimes it does not. And it's a flap that's kind of like this between the right and the left chambers of the heart. So when I was in the emergency room, they did this test. They didn't see anything. They told me that I didn't have a PFO. So when I went down to UCLA, we did some more in-depth testing, and they actually found that I had a grade 5 PFO. And when I went there, they did something called a transcranial Doppler, which is basically a much more accurate test to find a PFO. Similarly, they do the saline with the bubbles, they inject it, but with this test, they listen for the sound of bubbles escaping in the heart. My blood clot actually escaped through the flap or the hole in my heart. So the recommendation from my doctors at UCLA was to have a procedure done called a PFO closure. And I feel just so grateful to all of the doctors at Eisenhower Medical Center, all of the doctors at UCLA who took care of me, Dr. Tobis, who performed my procedure. That's my story. That's what happened. If there's anybody that watches this that has gone through the same thing or something similar, I definitely really empathize with you, and I understand how life-altering and scary it is, and I would definitely encourage you to talk to a doctor. And yeah, so this is what happened, and thanks for watching.